Mexico-United States relations, also known as Mexican-American relations, refers to the bilateral relations between Mexico and the United States. The two countries share a maritime and land border. Several treaties have been concluded between the two nations bilaterally, such as the Gadsden Purchase, and multilaterally, such as the North American Free Trade Agreement. Both are members of various international organizations, including the Organization of American States and the United Nations. Since the late 19th century during the regime of President Porfirio Diaz, the two countries have had close diplomatic and economic ties. During Diaz's long presidency, Mexico was open to foreign investment and U.S. entrepreneurs invested in ranching and agricultural enterprises and mining. The U.S. played an important role in the course of the Mexican Revolution with direct actions of the U.S. government in supporting or repudiating the support of revolutionary factions. The long border between the two countries means that peace and security in that region are important to the U.S.'s national security and international trade. The U.S. is Mexico's biggest trading partner and Mexico is the U.S.'s third largest trading partner. In 2010, Mexico's exports totaled $309.6 billion United States dollars, and almost three-quarters of those purchases were made by the United States. They are also closely connected demographically, with over 1 million U.S. citizens living in Mexico and Mexico being the largest source of immigrants to the United States. While condemning the terrorist attacks of 9/11 and providing considerable relief aid to the U.S. after Hurricane Katrina, the Mexican government, pursuing neutrality in international affairs, opted not to actively join the War on Terror and the Iraq War, instead being the first nation in history to formally and voluntarily leave the Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance in 2002, though Mexico later joined the U.S. in supporting military intervention in the Libyan civil war. As of 2013, Mexican students form the ninth largest group of international students studying in the United States, representing 1.7% of all foreigners pursuing higher education in the U.S. The four-year term of President Donald Trump, who had provoked the ire of the Mexican government through threats against companies who invest in Mexico instead of the U.S., and his claims that he would construct a border wall and force Mexico to fund its construction, caused a decline in the relations of the two countries in the mid to late 2010s. A 2017 survey conducted by the Pew Research Center showed 65% of Mexicans had a negative view of the U.S., with only 30% having a positive view. This constitutes a significant and abrupt drop from 2015, prior to the 2016 United States presidential election, when 67% of Mexicans had a positive view of the United States. The same study also showed only 5% of Mexicans had confidence in the then U.S. leader, President Donald Trump, with 93% having no confidence in him. The United States of America shares a unique and often complex relationship with the United Mexican States, with shared history stemming back to the Texas Revolution. Mexico and the United States are members of various international organizations, such as the Organization of American States and the United Nations. Boundary disputes and allocation of boundary waters have been administered since 1889 by the International Boundary and Water Commission, which also maintains international dams and wastewater sanitation facilities, once viewed as a model of international cooperation. In recent decades, the IBWC has been heavily criticized as an institutional anachronism, bypassed by modern social, environmental and political issues. Illegal immigration, arms sales, and drug smuggling continue to be contending issues in 21st century U.S.-Mexico relations. U.S.-Mexico relations grew out of the earlier relations between the fledgling nation of the United States and the Spanish Empire and its Viceroyalty of New Spain. Modern Mexico formed the core area of the Viceroyalty of New Spain at the time the United States gained its independence in the American Revolutionary War. Spain had served as an ally to the American colonists in that war. The aspect of Spanish-American relations that would bear most prominently on later relations between the US and Mexico was the ownership of Texas. In the early 19th century, the United States claimed that Texas was part of the territory of Louisiana, and therefore had been rightfully acquired by the United States as part of the Louisiana Purchase from France in 1803. The Spanish, however, claimed it was not, as the western boundaries of Louisiana were not clearly defined. In 1819 the dispute was resolved with the signing of the Adams-Onis Treaty, in which the United States relinquished its claims to Texas and instead purchased Spanish Florida. In 1821 New Spain gained its independence from Spain and established